Shalom to the elect of Israel, to the hopeful elect of Israel, you Hebrew Israelites, you so-called Negroes, Latinos, Native Americans, West Indians, and Haitians. Gotta give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shah, the Most High, the Heavenly Father. His Hebrew name is Yahweh, not Yahweh, not Jehovah, not God, not Elohim, not Most High, not Lord, not Yah, not Jah, not Ahaya, not Allah. It's Yahweh. And his only begotten son name in the Hebrew is Yahweh Shah. Not Yahshua, not Yeshua, not Jesus Christos, not Jesus Christ, not Serapos Christos, not Yeshaya, not Yehoshua. It's Yahweh Shah. So God give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shah, Bahashem, Rekah Korash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone, who rule well, who teach well, who are the apostles and elders of all of Israel, whether accepted or not. In a sincere salutation, to all the Akim pushing this truth and believing this truth, with the four winds of the earth, the entire world, waking up the hopeful elect. And shalom to the Akbar who are listening and learning, the few sisters who are listening and learning. I'm Isaiah from GMS Orlando. I'm coming at you another lesson. And truth, facts, faith, and edification, another daily edification. Lord's willing, just be edifying. This is for educational purposes only. This is not for monetary gain. I do not own the copyright to this video. This is for educational purposes only. Lord's willing, just be edifying.
While working families are struggling to pay their bills and the infrastructure of the United States is crumbling, the billionaires are having their own little space race and seeing who can reach the stars faster. Do you think you'll ever be able to afford to go to space?
I can't afford to live in New York.
The average person can barely afford Starbucks. Space travel is never going to be affordable for everybody.
Matter of fact, we might be, because you know what? As this economy is coming down to it, all the technology and everything is being upgraded to the fact that how we about to move over to Earth. I mean, over to the next planet possibly. So, you never know.
With many feeling that glory projects, such as races into space, make a mockery of the hard work carried out by the majority, it shouldn't be a surprise that many are wondering if we shouldn't just dump the ultra-rich into outer space as the latest piece of space junk. Caleb Maupin, RT, New York.
And Russia has just successfully tested the new Zircon hypersonic missile launched from the Admiral Gorshkov warship. It traveled at 7 times the speed of sound and struck its intended target some 350 kilometers away on land. Vladimir Putin says this is part of a new generation of missile systems that are more advanced than that of any other country. So for analysis of this, we will turn to former Pentagon official Mike Maloof. So Mike, Vladimir Putin says this cruise missile is both low-flying and practically undetectable. Now, I got to ask you, is that even possible given, systems as advanced as, for example, Israel's Iron Dome, which can detect incoming miles and miles away?
Yeah, this is what Mr. Putin described it as is probably accurate. It's going at a hypersonic speed, like 7 to 8 times the speed of sound. Just going at that speed, it creates a cavitation around it, and it absorbs radio signals, and consequently, it becomes virtually stealth. And at that speed, and at a low trajectory, it's virtually undetectable. Even Iron Dome wouldn't be able to detect something like that, and our national defense missile defense systems are not capable of detecting something like that, especially if it's as it's designed to be placed on submarines just off the coast. Your warning time would be 0. Wow. So and this is meant to counteract a country like the United States that has a far superior military force than Russia does, and also the ship, the hypersonic missile, a cruise missile, would also may even make obsolete our carriers.
Well, hang on to that.
We rely on that.
Hang on to that for a second. What would that mean then if the capabilities are as such as President Putin said, and as you've confirmed? What does that mean for the future of warfare? I mean, how does that change, this kind of technology change the landscape?
Well, all I see here is a huge arms race that any miscalculation could spell doom. Given that distance, it could be easily that hypersonic missile, the Zircon, can be launched from the Federation, the Russian Federation, into Europe. They wouldn't be able to detect it. The missile defense systems that the United States is pouring tens of billions of dollars into would not be able to detect it. And it's meant to counteract a superior force, and that would effectively do it.
Now, the Russian Defense Ministry has now issued a stern warning to the Pentagon, specifically saying that the U.S. should not install their own hypersonic missiles in Europe because that could spark hostilities. That's not a veiled threat. Is this, in connection in any way to the NATO exercises happening in the Black Sea and in Eastern Europe?
I think that's part of it, but I also think it's an effort to try to get the two countries back on track for a multilateral agreement to limit such weapons capabilities. As you know, the United States abandoned the Intermediate Range Ballistic Missile Treaty. Now, this wouldn't necessarily cover that because of the distance, but the speed and the capability of this missile virtually makes anything like that obsolete. Because if it's mounted on your on the third leg of your triad, namely your submarines, I mean, it's going to and can be launched from aircraft. By the way, it really. If it's used against aircraft carriers, we got 12 carrier strike forces, and you can take out a few of those missiles in a swarm approach. By swarm, I mean multiple hypersonics coming at the same time can neutralize that target. Then your international force projection becomes very minimal.
Wow. And lastly, Mike, I got to ask, who's deterring whom here? Is it NATO or Russia?
Well, it's a symbiotic relationship here. I think it's meant to send messages that if you want to do this, we can do that. And certainly the Russia has now demonstrated that it has that capability. And in fact, it's probably going to go operational rather rapidly. The United States does not have anything like that at the moment in its arsenal. But then there's no defense to it.
Wow.
Whether the U.S. or Russia has it, there would be no defense to it. And that's why this makes a potential arms race and international tensions even greater. I think it's meant to say, okay, let's be growing ups here and let's sit down and work this out rather than escalating all the time. But given the maneuvers that NATO is doing in the Black Sea, in the backyard of Russia, I think it's threatening to the Federation, and there's a history of concern that Russia has, legitimately so, given past experiences.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head, sparking off a new arms race. Mike Maloof, always appreciate your expertise. Thank you so much for joining.
So now you see what's popping off, man. This is prophecy about the bear. This is Joel 3:9. Proclaim ye this among the Gentiles. Prepare war. Wake up the mighty men. Let all the men of war draw near. Let them come up. Beat your plowshares into swords, and your pruning hooks into spears. Let the weak say, I am strong. And the number one nation that's going to come against Babylon the Great is the Baal, man. Gog and Magog, man. Okay? Russia is the main nation that's going to come against Babylon the Great. Again, Joel 3:9. Proclaim ye this among the Gentiles. Prepare war. What war? World War III. Wake up the mighty men. Let all the men of war draw near. Let them come up. Beat your plowshares into swords, and your pruning hooks into spears. Let the weak say, I am strong. It's only so long that you're going to poke this bear before he retaliates. This is Revelation chapter 9 and verse 12. It say prepare for war. Revelation 9 and 12. one woe is past, and behold, there come two woes more hereafter. It's Revelation 11 and 14. The second woe is past, and behold, the third woe cometh quickly. Who is this coming from? It's coming from Yahweh Shema Shah. To do what? To lay the land desolate. First and foremost, Babylon the Great. This is Isaiah 13 and 17. And it reads, Behold, I will stir up the Medes against them, which shall not regard silver, and as for gold, they shall not delight in it. Their bows also shall dash the young men to pieces, and they shall have no pity on the fruit of the womb. Their eye shall not spare children. And Babylon, the glory of kingdoms, which is Babylon the Great, the beauty of the Chaldees' excellency, shall be as when power overthrew Sodom and Gomorrah. With what? Fire and brimstone. When you go to Revelation chapter 9, as a matter of fact, let's read it. This is Revelation 9 and 16. It reads, And the number of the army of the horsemen were 200,000, which is 200 million. And I heard the number of them. And thus I saw the horses in the vision, and them that sat on them, having breastplates of fire, and of jacinth, and brimstone. And the heads of the horses were as the heads of lions, which is the warheads on the missiles. And out of their mouths issued fire, and smoke, and brimstone. By these three were the third part of men killed, by the fire, and by the smoke, and by the brimstone which issue out of their mouths. For their power is in their mouth, which is the warheads, and in their tails, for their tails were like unto serpents, which we saw when the missiles were going up, that smoke trail, for their tails were like unto serpents, and had heads, and with them they do hurt. This is Isaiah chapter 13, verse 15. It reads, Isaiah 13 and 5. They come from a far country, from the ends of heaven, even the Lord, and the weapons of his indignation to destroy the whole land. What's the weapons of the Lord indignation? This is Isaiah 54 and 16, and it reads, Behold, I have created the smith that bloweth the coals in the fire, and that bringeth forth an instrument for his work, and I have created the waster to destroy. What's the waster? It's an intercontinental ballistic missile. This is Isaiah chapter 9 and verse 5. For every battle of the warrior is with confused noise and garments rolled in blood. But this, what? World War III, shall be with burning and fuel of fire. This is how Babylon the Great will be destroyed, with burning and fuel of fire. This is Isaiah chapter 19 and verse 1. And it reads, The burden of Egypt. What's the burden? Destruction. The burden of Egypt, behold, the Lord, Yahweh Shema Shah, rideth upon a swift cloud, which is a chariot, and shall come into Egypt, and the idols of Egypt shall be moved at his presence, and the heart of Egypt shall melt in the midst of it. How is the heart of Egypt, how is Babylon the Great going to melt? With fervent heat. By what? Intercontinental ballistic missiles. And I will set the Egyptians against the Egyptians, and they shall fight everyone against his brother, and everyone against his neighbor, city against city, and kingdom against kingdom. And the spirit of Egypt shall fail in the midst thereof. The Lord said, I will set the Egyptians against the Egyptians, which is the Idumeans against the Idumeans, the Job 9 and 24s against the Job 9 and 24s, and all the other heathen nations are going to come up against the Job 9 and 24s. But mainly the Russian Job 9 and 24s, and they shall fight everyone against his brother, and everyone against his neighbor, city against city, and kingdom against kingdom. And the spirit of Egypt shall fail in the midst thereof, and I will destroy the counsel thereof, and they shall seek to the idols, and to the charmers, and to them that have familiar spirits, and to wizards. This is their soothsaying, their enchantments, but none of this shall work. And the Egyptians will I give over into the hand of a cruel lord, and a fierce king, which is who? None other than the bear, man. It say, and the Egyptians will I give over into the hand of a cruel lord, and a fierce king shall rule over them, said the Lord of hosts. That's talking about the bear destroying the goat. Okay? The bear is going to destroy the he-goat, man. This is Obadiah chapter 1 and verse 7. That's why I said what I just read in Isaiah 19, that he will set the Egyptian against the Egyptian, right? And brother shall fight against brother. This is Obadiah 1 and 7. It reads, all the men of thy confederacy have brought thee even to the border. What men of thy confederacy? Everybody that's joined to Babylon the Great as allies. All the men of thy confederacy have brought thee even to the border. The men that were at peace with thee have deceived thee and prevailed against thee, which is a future prophecy of Babylon the Great being destroyed. They said they have prevailed against thee. They that eat thy bread have laid a wound under thee. There is none understanding in him. So, this is just future prophecy waiting to happen, man. Okay? It's just waiting to happen. It said, all the men of thy confederacy have brought thee even to the border. This is Luke chapter 11 and verse 17. And it reads, but he, knowing their thoughts, said unto them, every kingdom divided against itself is brought to desolation, and a house divided against a house falleth. So, these nations are joined together, man. But the Lord said what? They're going to fall because they are separated. Now, show you how Babylon the Great and its allies are not on the same page. This is Daniel chapter 2. Let's get this. This is Daniel 2. In verse, let's read about all these. This is Daniel 2 and 37. This is what Daniel told Nebuchadnezzar. It reads, verse 36 say, this is the dream, and we will tell the interpretation thereof before the king. Thou, O king, art the king of kings, for the God of heaven hath given thee a kingdom, power and strength and glory. And whereas the children of men dwell, and whatsoever the children of men dwell, the beasts of the field and the fowls of the heaven, have he given into thy hand, and have made thee ruler over them all. Thou art this head of gold, which is Babylon, ancient Babylon, which is today reincarnated, man. Nothing new. It said, and after thee shall arise an other kingdom inferior to thee, which was the Medo and Persian Empire, and another third kingdom of brass, which was the Greek Empire, which shall thou rule over all the earth. And the fourth kingdom, which is the Roman Empire, shall be strong as iron, for as much as iron breaketh in pieces, and subdue all things, and as iron that breaketh all these, shall it break in pieces and bruise. That was the fourth kingdom. It say, and whereas thou sawest the feet and toes, this is the fifth kingdom. Part of potter's clay, and part of iron, which is Babylon the Great, the Roman Empire revised. It said the kingdom shall be divided. Okay? That's why you got EU, NATO, and Babylon the Great. They are divided, man. They're not on the same page, but through the policies, they are mingled together. Because of the policies, the legislations, the democracy, the draconian laws. It's saying, whereas thou sawest the feet and toes, part of potter's clay and part of iron, the kingdom shall be divided. But there shall be in it of the strength of the iron, for as much as thou sawest the iron mixed with miry clay. Daniel 2 and 42. And as the toes of the feet were part of iron and part of clay, so the kingdom shall be partly strong and partly broken. This is EU, NATO, and Babylon the Great joined together. And whereas thou sawest iron mixed with miry clay, they shall mingle themselves with the seeds of men. This is talking about the Job 9 and 24s mingle with the other 16 heathen nations, right? Outside of the Hebrew Israelites, so-called Negro, Latino, Native Americans, West Indians, and Haitians, you have 17 other nations. The 12 tribes of Israel is one nation. So you got the 17, you got the other, you got the 17 heathen nations. They are joined together, being mingled. But it said what? And whereas thou sawest iron mixed with miry clay, they shall mingle themselves with the seed of men, but they shall not cleave one to another, even as iron is not mixed with miry clay. So, when you read in Obadiah 1 and 7, this is what that's talking about. They shall mingle themselves, but they shall not cleave one to another. Obadiah 1 and 7, all the men of thy confederacy have brought thee even to the border. When you go to Psalms 83, it shows you that they came together to take down the nation of Israel, because they couldn't have did it by themselves alone. Each 17 heathen nation couldn't have took Israel down by themselves. So they came together as a confederate. That's why the Lord say, you put your hands on the apple of the Lord's eye. So, moving on. The Lord is raising up a cruel Lord, a fierce king, to destroy Babylon the Great. Now, this is Isaiah 47 and 11. And it reads, therefore shall evil come upon thee, thou shalt not know from whence it riseth, and mischief shall fall upon thee, thou shalt not be able to put it off. And desolation shall come upon thee suddenly, which thou shalt not know. Why does it not know? Because it tells you Obadiah 1 and 7, they have none understanding, man. These Job 9 and 24s have none understanding. This is Jeremiah 50. In verse 22 it reads, a sound of battle is in the land. In what land? Babylon the Great. And of great destruction. How is the hammer of the whole earth cut asunder and broken? How is Babylon become a desolation among the nations? This is how you know this is not talking about ancient Babylon. Because right now in ancient Babylon, which is in Iraq, it's still occupied today. I have laid it say, how is the hammer of the whole earth cut asunder and broken? Because they have none understanding. How is Babylon become a desolation among the nations? I, who, the heavenly Father Yahweh, Ba'ashim Yahushua, I have laid a snare for thee, and thou art also taken, O Babylon, and thou wast not aware. Thou art found and also caught, because thou hast striven against the Lord. The Lord, Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahushua, have opened his armory, which is what? These intercontinental ballistic missiles. It said in Joel 3 and 10, be your plowshares into swords, and your pruning hooks into spears. A plowshare and a pruning hook is tools for agriculture, man. The Lord saying, forget all that. Take your money and invest it in missiles, man. And you see that's what Russia, Iran, Turkey, North Korea, North Korea, China, they all investing in missiles, man. Verse 25, Jeremiah 50 and 25, for the Lord Yahweh, Ba'ashim Yahushua, have opened his armory and have brought forth the weapons of his indignation. For this is the work of the Lord Yahweh, power of hosts, in the land of the Chaldeans. Come against her from the utmost border, open her storehouses, cast her up as heaps, and destroy her utterly. Let nothing of her be left. Verse 29 say, call together the archers against Babylon, all ye that bend the bow, camp against it round about, let none thereof escape. Recompense her according to her work, according to all that she have done unto her, according to all that she have done unto her, for she have been proud against the Lord, against the Holy One of Israel. Therefore shall her young men fall in the streets, and all her men of war shall be cut off in the day, saith the Lord Yahweh, Ba'ashim Yahushua. What is this talking about? World War III, man. Missiles, intercontinental ballistic missiles, 200 million, man. How many are going to hit Babylon the Great? I don't know. But it will be desolate, man. This land, Babylon the Great, all 5,000 square miles will be desolate. And we see it day after day after day. The Lord is raising up this bear, man. Not a bear. Hey, now he already had hypersonic missiles. They are advancing the hypersonic missiles. Because the Lord said what? He put the spirit on them, man. Let's read this. Proverbs 21 and 1. The king's heart is in the hands of the Lord. As the rivers of water, he turneth it whithersoever he will. Every way of a man is right in his own eyes, but the Lord punneth the hearts. Let's get this. Because the Lord got a heavy spirit on this bow, man, to constantly create better missiles, man. This is Proverbs 16:1. The preparations of the heart in man and the answer of the tongue is from the Lord. All the ways of a man are clean in his own eyes, but the Lord weigheth the spirits. The Lord got, the Lord got the spirit on this fierce king, this cruel Lord, to advance his missiles to the highest advancement, man. Let's read Joel again. This is Joel 3:9. Proclaim ye this among the Gentiles. Prepare war. Wake up the mighty men. Let all the men of war draw near. Let them come up. Beat your plowshares into swords and your pruning hooks into spears. Let the weak say, I am strong. Every nation got missiles, man. These other nations got missiles. These nations that used to be weak, they're not weak anymore, man. And when you read Ezekiel 38, it tell you that Russia shall be a guard to these other nations, man. And the Lord said he's going to put the hooks into their jaws and turn them back to what? That cruel Lord, that fierce king, that fierce nation that's about war, man. That old Soviet Union war mentality, man. That's what's going on, man. The Lord got the bell preparing, man. And you keep poking at the bell, he's going to raise up on 2 feet and devour much flesh, man. Thus saith the Lord. This is this is Revelation. And as it say in Ezekiel 38, that Russia shall be a guard to other nations. This is Revelation 17:16, and it reads, And the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, these shall hate the whore, and shall make her desolate and naked, and shall eat her flesh, and burn her with fire. With what? Intercontinental ballistic missiles. For God hath put in their hearts to fulfill his will, and to agree, and give their kingdom unto the beast, which is EU and NATO and Babylon the Great, until the words of God shall be fulfilled. What's the words of the Lord being fulfilled? The elect getting sealed. You can read in Revelation chapter 7, verse 1 down to 4. When the elect gets sealed, that's when the Quran going to be made mandatory, and World War III going to be right behind that, man. These are the last major prophecies that we're waiting on. We're waiting on Jacob's trouble, right? Jacob's trouble, the Quran being made mandatory, the MOTB, and World War III, man. So while Jake's sitting around here playing games, and you heard when I first started this video, even the guy said the economy is collapsing, man. The economy is collapsing. The infrastructure of Babylon the Great is deteriorating. So what manner of person are you ought to be knowing these things? Let's read it. This is 2 Peter chapter 3:10, and it reads, But the day of the Lord Yahweh, Bahashim Yahushua, will come as a thief in the night, in the which the heavens, meaning earth, shall pass away with a great noise. And the elements, what's made of elements? Everything, cars, buildings, everything is made of elements, man. Everything on planet Earth is made of elements. It say, but the day of the Lord Yahweh, Bahashim Yahushua, will come as a thief in the night, in the which the heavens shall pass away with a great noise, and the elements shall melt with fervent heat. What can melt the cars? What can melt the buildings to ash? Those intercontinental ballistic missiles, because they burn hotter than 1,000,000 degrees, man. The earth also and the works that are therein shall be burnt up. Seeing then that all these things shall be dissolved, what manner of persons are ye to be in all holy conversation? This word conversation meaning your conduct. What should you be doing? It say, and godliness, looking for and hastening unto the coming of the day of the Lord. And we hasten to the day of Yahweh Shema Shah. As Apostle Tahar coined this year, the year 2021, the hastening of the coming of Yahweh Shema Shai. Looking for and hastening unto the coming of the day of God, wherein the heavens being on fire shall be dissolved, and the elements shall melt with fervent heat. From these intercontinental ballistic missiles that burn over 1,000,000 degrees. This is what's coming, man. What manner of person are you ought to be in our holy conversation? Hey, Lord, when it's edifying, got to give all praise and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rekah Kodash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule well, who teach well, who are the apostles and elders of all of Israel, whether they can accept it or not. An essential salutation to all the occupants pushing this truth and believing this truth throughout the four winds of the earth, the entire world, waking up the hopeful elect. And shalom to the Aqua who are listening and learning, the few sisters who are listening and learning. Lord, what was edifying. Until next time, I say shalom, wa, abad, babal. The water for tuning in. May Yahweh Shema Shai continue to bless you in your houses. Stay prayed up. Shalom.